Okay. Now, this whole ridiculous notion, the black Americans from this FBA, pretendians, and all this kind of nonsense, they're now claiming that they're actually Native Americans, which is ridiculous. Okay, these guys are always looking for a new identity. It's actually quite sad. It's pathetic. Some are Hebrew Israelites. They were Egyptians a few years ago. Then it was they're always something. Okay, FBA is the latest thing they want to call themselves. And now Tariq, what he's trying to do is he's trying to push this Native American thing. And the funny thing is, when Tariq was doing his pro-black hidden colors stuff, I remember he did a live stream in which he was making fun of people who were claiming to be Native Americans. He said these are people who are just ashamed of their slave ancestry, and now they're trying to pretend to be Native American to hide from who they really are. This was around 10 years ago. And now Tariq's in his 50s, and all of a sudden he's had an awakening. Isn't that funny that the stunted development of some of these black Americans, where they start having awakenings in their late 40s and 50s? Yeah, we know he's a grifter and he's full of nonsense, but let's just pretend he had an awakening. But anyway, so now they're Native Americans. Even though Native Americans are still around, we can even see different groups throughout the American atmosphere, from the top of America all the way down to the south of America, even through to Canada. We know what Native Americans look like. We see that they've got straight hair that grows downwards. We just know their features. And these black Americans who are pretending to be Native now, isn't it strange how they don't look like any of the native groups in the American hemisphere? Sorry. Is it a coincidence that these black Americans, they just look like, for the most part, depending how much European ancestry they have, watered down Africans? To the point, we can go to anywhere in Europe or any country that has Africans that have hooked up with Europeans or people of other lighter complexions. And if you look at their offspring, even if they've got a grandparent that is European and then the rest of them are African, or you know what you see? People that look just like the typical black American. So is it a coincidence that your ancestry, you were in slavery, and Europeans did what they did with you, mixing, the men had their way with the women. Some came out light-skinned but because of this. Is it a coincidence of when they go and actually have a DNA test that they have European ancestry? Is that perhaps why you don't just look like a straight up average African? It's because you're mixed. But now you want to create a brand new identity because you don't want to accept who you really are. And I can kind of see from certain point of views, because if you look at it, I suppose the majority of black Americans, the reason that they have European ancestry is from grape. Take the G away. That's why. So in that sense, you'd have to be admitting to yourself that I suppose your lineage, for the most part, on that side, the European side, would have come from a grapist. So maybe that's why you're trying to hide from who you are. Because I suppose a lot of people don't like that. They'll say they start their whole existence from slavery, and then the European ancestry they have is from someone who forced themselves on someone, and that's what's in your blood, someone who does something like that. So I can kind of see why some people would try and run away from that. But the fact of the matter is, these guys are so hell-bent on trying to create a false story of their past that they even refuse to take DNA tests. These pretendians will say, no, no, don't take DNA tests. It's for entertainment purposes only. That's some nonsense, which they deliberately take out of context. No, no, no. When you guys go and get yourselves a girl and get a woman pregnant, those DNA tests, when a woman claims to be pregnant, you'll take the DNA test for that. And if it says, no, you're not the father, you'll go along with that because you know it's true. But then if it says you're the father, you know what you do? You'll start paying child support. Why don't you deny it and say, no, you don't believe in a DNA test and you're not going to pay child support? Because you know it's true. And it's just outrageous that it's so strange. I feel sorry for you guys, to be honest. You guys that go along with this nonsense of pretending that you're Native American when you don't look like any of the native groups on that hemisphere. A small percentage of you might have some Native American blood, but then they say it's only 1% to 2% of Native American blood. And that's such a tiny, insignificant amount, but the majority of you have no Native American blood. So let me get this right. All it takes is a charismatic character to come on YouTube and tell you something, and you'll just go along with it. Is that how stupid you are? What was it before FBA? It was ADOS. So you had Yvette Carnell, a woman you've never met in your life. She started making YouTube videos, and before you know it, you start calling yourselves ADOS. Then Tariq came along, and he just happened to be a bit more charismatic, and he told more jokes, and now you're calling yourself FBA. That just goes to show how lost you are as a people. That someone can just come along, not all of you, because some of you aren't that mentally weak. But do you know how mentally weak you have to be? What's the other? Dane Calloway. He was a failed rapper. He used to try to be a rapper, he failed, and then he started doing this whole pretending thing. Tariq Nasheed, what was he? A failed rapper. And then he started doing all this other nonsense. So all it takes is some failed rappers to come on YouTube and just say stuff to you. You don't do any of your own research. You don't like science, because obviously you don't like science, because science will prove that you're wrong. So you want to go with pseudo nonsense with someone telling you what you want to hear. Outrageous. I could find FBA lookalikes anywhere around the world that has Africans who have been with white people. So is it a coincidence that that's your actual history, scientifically backed, historically backed, and that's why you look like mixed Africans and you don't actually look like Native Americans? I mean, even you FBAs that are heavily mixed, you know what your hair doesn't do? Your hair doesn't grow downwards naturally like an actual Native American. Even you heavily mixed ones, you still get afros. You still get curly hair. Native Americans do not have curly hair. If they want curly hair, they actually have to do things to their hair to make their hair curly. When you guys try and get straight hair, you actually have to do a lot of stuff to your hair to make it grow straight downwards. I'm not sure. Some of you might generally be stupid, but I think most of you, you're not stupid. You know what it is, but you just want to go ahead with the delusion because you want to make yourself feel better. Imagine that. A lot of you are broke. You're living in shitty neighborhoods. You're eating bad food. You're out of shape. Low education. And you're never going to amount to anything in life. But that little thing in you is saying, oh, I want to be Native American. Because apparently you think if you can convince other people to go ahead with your delusion by making false claims of something that you're not, that's somehow going to improve your life. Because even though you're bums and losers, you think being recognized as a Native American, even though we can all see that you're not. I mean, for crying out loud, if you go in the Amazon, you still have these real Native Americans in the Amazon. They're in their loincloths, they're throwing spears, they're using blow darts to knock down monkeys in trees. They're still there. They have their own names and everything. How the hell are you going to be called, I don't know, Patrick Johnson? and then claim that you're a Native American. And then when we look at your history, we don't see any Native American. No one in your family has spoken any other language apart from the one that your slave master gave you, and none of you have had any other names apart from the ones that your slave master gave you. None of you look like Native Americans. You look like watered down Africans. Anyway, yeah, your delusions are nice, but keep it to yourself, okay, or amongst yourself. This is why you guys won't actually have a serious conversation. You know, if you want to get the truth out of one of these FBA people, you know what to do? Sit them in front of a white person who isn't trying to go along with their bullshit. Because sometimes you might get some white people that like to play, you know, a bit of fun and go along with it, pretend that they believe them. Sit them in front of an actual academic and watch them say, hey, tell this white academic that you're a Native American. And then you'll have someone that looks just like O'Shea Duke Jackson saying that he ain't got no African in him, he's a Native American. And watch how everyone just tries to hide their laughter. Because the worst thing that that can happen to an FBA is white people laughing at them, because they're only doing all this FBA nonsense because they want to create some sort of hierarchy in which they're at the top, but they're doing this for the white gaze. Like, hey, Mr. White Man, hey, Massa, I'm above these Africans and Jamaicans. Massa, please acknowledge me. But at the end of the day, no one gives a fuck. You notice how at the start of every conversation, these people say, oh, I'm FBA, and this is my opinion. Sometimes I feel like saying, I don't give a fuck if you're FBA. You're just black. Just say what the hell you want to say and get on with it. Stop grandstanding like someone needs to start caring. And this is another thing. The only reason people even have an issue with FBA is because these FBA people won't leave other people alone. But when you keep pushing and pushing, people are going to have to start pushing back and tell you the truth about yourselves. The truth that you deep down already know, but you just don't want to accept. But it doesn't matter if you want to accept it or not. This is just how things are going to be. Anyway.